of teachers. I'm delighted to be here and presenting Lifestyle Prescriptions Yoga. So what is it all about? Well, if you have a look on National Yoga Month website, you will know that Johannes Wisslinger is the co-founder of National Yoga Month, and he is also the founder of Lifestyle Prescriptions. So this is a health model that really connects what we call organ, mind, brain connection anatomy. And so it's really looking at the very specific connections of our organs and the emotional context that arise there. So when we say lifestyle prescriptions yoga, what we're talking about is a yoga that combines practices of yoga with organ, mind, brain connection anatomy. So we use the practices of alignment, movement, mindfulness, breathwork, mantra, all of the practices of yoga to explore our physical perceptions and experiences, and with guidance to understand how emotions, thoughts, and beliefs relate to specific body parts, we can then gain clarity about what is really going on for us at any given time, particularly in our unconscious mind, and specifically then conflicts that disrupt the normal functioning of our organs. And this awareness in itself may spark a spontaneous unraveling of symptoms, or it may just be the starting point of a longer healing journey. Either way, you will have connected with what we call the root cause. Your body is the messenger and your mind now the listener. But when we're new to this work, how do we start listening? And this is where yoga really comes into its own, because yoga helps us to get into our body and really feel what's going on. And when we're talking about the anywhere in our body, there are a couple of things that we need to bear in mind. First of all, there is our posture, the habitual way with which we stand, with which we sit, and even how we lie. And you talk to anybody and they say, oh yeah, I tend to lie on my left side at night, or I tend to lie on my tummy, I tend to lie on my back. And so we all have habitual postures. And we need to have a look at these first of all. It may be that we have a posture in a certain way because that we have a limited range in a movement. So for example, if you lie on your tummy, many people will say that they can only lie when their head is facing one direction. They can't lie with their head in the other direction. So what's going on there? And the other thing is that often what happens when we move, we have habits of movement. So when we move, if we have limitation in one joint, we can make up with other joints. And we're going to have a look at this today with specific attention to the neck. And then what we're going to do is we're going to delve a little bit more into the feeling sense inside our body. And the face is a really good place to start, the face and the head. And if you think about it, most of us don't have or even consider much awareness of our face, the feelings of our face, until, say, we have a headache. Or, as I did over the weekend, ate some really hot potato and I burnt my tongue. And then I burnt the roof of my mouth, sorry. And so then I had very much awareness of the sensation in my mouth. But most of the time, we don't give it a second thought. And if we're new to yoga, starting to get into the felt sense can be really tricky. And so I'm going to guide you through a practice today, and we'll see how we get on. And I'm hoping that you'll find some new experiences to do with your face, your head, and your neck. So let's get comfortable first of all. all we need to do for this evening is to be comfortable in a nice sitting position. And you're going to want to have your feet flat on the floor and nice and toasty. So it's a little cool here today, so you might want to have socks on. So you have your feet flat on the floor. And then you want to have your heels underneath the knees so that your ankles should be about at a 90 degrees. And then also you want the knees to be no more than 90 degrees and ideally a little less, which means that your hips are actually higher than your knees. And this helps the pelvis to come into a neutral position and then the spine all the way above. Now, of course, the neck is the very top of the spine. And like everywhere else, we can have habitual postures. So in yoga, we often talk about having length through the whole of the back of the neck. Now, what do we mean by this? What are we really getting into? Well, I'm going to show you from the side view how people often sit. And what happens is they sit like this. And so I don't know whether you get a sense here. This is my neck here, of course. I don't have length through here. All right. I've got a big increase in curve there, and I'm slouch sitting, I'm round shouldered, and I'm really short here. So what we're looking for is to have length through the whole of the back of the neck. Now, sometimes people mistake this with a lifting of the chin there. And if you take this part of your fingers here, and you feel, first of all, the really knobbly bone at the very bottom of the neck, and then you walk your fingers up so that they're in the middle part of the neck. And then let your chin poke forwards. And then slide, imagine that you had a plane of glass underneath your chin here, and you're going to slide your chin back. And you should feel how the bones, when you come back, the bones come into your fingers, and as you take your head forwards, you take your bones away from your fingers. So it's almost as if you were trying to make yourself a double chin when you come back, but you don't want to push into it too far. So if you can find what you think is a nice alignment in your neck there, your chin is relaxed, and you feel as if you've got real length through the whole of the spine, but obviously with the curve in place there. And that's our starting point to explore a few neck movements. It's quite funky, this thing. And there we go. I'm sorry about that. It probably made a horrible rattling noise for you. So then you would have had increased awareness of your hearing this evening. So let's work with some neck movements first of all. If you want to either close your eyes or keep them open, and if they are open, just let your gaze be really soft. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore a forward bend. And we're going to explore it working from the very top of the neck and working through. So there are 7 bones in the neck. And what we're looking for is to really explore just a forward bend at the neck. So breathing in and breathing out, tuck the chin in just a little. And you may even want to keep your fingers on the bones there so that as you breathe out and you look down now, you take the neck into a forward bend and you see how much movement you have in the neck itself. You may be very surprised that it's not as much as you think it is, because often what happens when people bend from the neck or they look down, actually what they're doing is using the upper part of the back. So if I want to look down there, I may go like this, and you can see that there's a lot of activity happening here and not really much at the neck at all. So once again, coming back up to neutral now, breathing in, and as you breathe out, working through the levels and just looking down through closed lids or open eyes as much as you can without changing the rest of your posture. And breathing in and back up. Breathing in and then looking down on the movement. And breathing in to come up into neutral. Now you can work with breathing in, breathing out, either on the movement or in the pause. So this is something that you start to almost do naturally, and so you can see what works for you with this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the neutral position. So we feel that we have length through the whole of the back of the neck. Now, what is the neck in the lifestyle prescriptions analysis? It's, are we holding our head up? Are we standing up tall? It's about intellectual self-worth. And we know that when we're feeling depressed or down, our gaze tends to look down like this. Or if in some ways we're being marginalized. So, if you have a think of how servants going back to olden times, certainly in England and lots of different places, the servants were never allowed to look at their masters. They always had to have erect posture, but keep their gaze down. Well, we know that where the eyes go, the head will follow. And so actually this head down is we're not able to really, to stand up, to be heard, to speak, and to feel that we are valued. So this is very much what the neck is about here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to imagine that we have a plane of glass underneath the chin. And again, we're going to work on the out breath. So breathing in. And as we breathe out, turn the head all the way to the left. Breathe in back to center. And turn and breathe out to the right. Breathe in back to center. And out to the left. And in back to center. And out to the right. And this time hold it to the right and just breathe naturally. And as you continue to stay in this rotated position, see if you can get a sense of the alignment of your shoulders so that your shoulder girdle has not come forwards at all for you to turn your head. And you start to get a sense of perhaps some opening across the front of the left chest here, where there's a little bit of a stretch on there as you continue to look over your right shoulder. And come back to center. Now, all rotation of the neck comes with a little bit of side bending, even though you don't know it, at a joint level. And all side bending comes with a little bit of rotation. So the ratios vary. But when we're working with these, what we're doing to all intents and purposes is we are trying to work with a pure rotation as we know it. So breathing in and all the way to the left, and this time holding that rotation there and seeing how that feels, How does it feel compared to looking over your right shoulder? Has your shoulder girdle nudged forwards in order for you to look as far as you want to? And as you're there, do you feel that actually the movement is starting to release in some way? And return to center. So we're going to keep the nose pointing forwards this time, and we're going to work with a pure side bend. So breathing in, and as we breathe out, bending the ear, the left ear, down to your shoulder. And again, what you're making sure here is that you're keeping the alignment of the rest of your spine. So you're sitting with your shoulder, your thoracic spine held in position there, and you're keeping the shoulders released away from the ears. Now, you might notice it will be really easy to just nudge into a little bit of rotation here, but we're going to keep the nose pointing forwards. It's really helpful to do these exercises in front of a mirror, by the way. And then return to center and breathing in. And as we breathe out, this time the right ear down to the right shoulder. Return to center. Breathing in. And now back down to the left, and just hold it there. And as you hold it there, just see whether there's a little bit more releasing to be done through the shoulders. Have a think about the alignment through the neck itself, whether you've still got nice length through the whole of the neck, or has a little bit of a poke chin come in there. And return to center. And it may feel really nice to do some nice big shoulder rolls there, free off the shoulders as well. So I really like to work with neck movements before coming into the head and the jaw, and you're going to see why in a moment. But before we do that, let's just wake up our scalp, okay? So you can do this in several different ways. You can get your fingertips and really massage there as if you were giving yourself a really good Indian head massage all over. And what's quite nice if you've had a really busy day at work is to come into the center line here of the crown. And I'm going to have my thumbs down here, the fingers up there, and drag the fingers down quite hard. And this helps to just really pull the energy away from the thinking mind and allow yourself to more fully land in your seat. Feel your sit bones on the chair, feel your feet on the floor. Another thing I quite like to do is to take a handful like this, or come into here, and you do this really quick like this. And if you've ever had an Indian head massage, this is one of the things that they do. And it's almost as if you're pulling your own hair, short, sharp pulls. And the more you do it, the more, well, I think it's addictive. And it's a lovely way to revitalize the whole of the head area and to bring lots of fresh blood supply in. And again, when you've had a day where you've been really thinking, or you've got something going on which you're finding quite challenging, this is a way of really bringing this attention into the head space. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes again now. Make sure that your feet feel nicely balanced on the floor. Just become aware of your sit bones on the chair, whatever you're sitting on, and a nice length through the whole of the spine, length through the neck. And if you can, let your jaw just relax. Now, I say just relax slightly tongue in cheek, because if we are someone who holds tension in the jaw, then just relaxing is very, very difficult. So what I'm going to invite you to do is open your mouth as wide as you can. Open your mouth as wide as you can from top to bottom. As wide as you can. Now, if your eyes are closed, open your eyes and notice where you're looking. For many people, what happens is when they open the mouth as wide as they can, what they do is they do this. And as we know, where the eyes go, the head will follow. So if you've opened your mouth as wide as you can, and actually you've lifted your head, this means that your eyes are going to be looking up towards the ceiling somewhere. And this is normally, when you do that movement, it normally comes into the poke chin position. So this is what happens. Open your mouth wide, and that happens. Now, it's just a habit. That's all. For most people, it's just a habit. And so what I'd like you to do, if you want to stop, actually feel for that movement, then again, use your fingertips on your spinous processes in your neck there. And again, feel into your seat, feel the length through the spine. And very mindfully, open the mouth wide. Open the mouth wide from top to bottom. And then from left to right. So you get a sense of the mouth widening from left to right. And then opening from top to bottom. And then left to right. So you're keeping the mouth open the whole time, but you're just focusing on opening from top to bottom and then widening from left to right. And then from there, with your breath nice and steady, let the mouth, let all activity of the mouth slowly, slowly, slowly fall away. And see whether you can let the mouth find a relaxed position, which is activated more by a letting go rather than you doing anything. And that may feel really weird for you. You may want to just close your mouth, because when the mouth relaxes, it's somewhere with your lips slightly parted. So let's do that again. So make sure that you have the nice alignment through your spine. You're sitting nicely, breathing nice and easily. We're not going to add in any breathing for this particular exercise because I think it's quite new in itself for a lot of people. And then keeping the movement just to the jaw, nothing happening in the neck, opening the mouth as wide as you can from top to bottom, and then as wide as you can from left to right. And see whether you can breathe in through the nose, keep the breathing in through the nose with the mouth open wide. And see if you can get a sense of the temperature of the outside air in your mouth. So you're breathing in and out through the nose, but your mouth is open wide. And notice what it feels like to have the air on the inside of the mouth. And notice if any emotions are coming up for you. Notice if anything's arising. And very slowly, let the mouth find its way back. So you're letting go of activity now, and you're letting the mouth and the muscles of the jaw gradually let go of activity and find a neutral, a relaxed position there. And this takes itself automatically into getting a sense of width in the face. And bring your awareness to the ears now. And see whether you can get a sense of that external part of your ear on the left and the external part on the right. And see whether you can get a sense of the ears roaring apart from each other with a wide smile of your mouth. And then bring your awareness back into the mouth. So the mouth is an organ of digestion because we put food into the mouth. And it's also an organ of speech. And inside the mouth, we have the tongue, of course. So very much involved with those two activities. Bring your awareness to your tongue. Bring your awareness to the root of the tongue, where it connects into the mouth. And notice the top of the tongue and the bottom of the tongue. And now the tip of the tongue. So we know if we maybe have been asked a question, certainly going back to, I can remember when I was a little girl, and your mum would ask you a question and you didn't reply. And she would say, "What's the matter? Has the cat got your tongue?" And so it's that idea that actually if we don't, we need our tongue to talk. And so that's where that expression comes from. So we need our tongue to talk. And you can try this. You can try talking without your tongue, and you find that you don't get very far. We're going to have a little play with that. And so we're going to do that in a minute. But the other thing that what happens is that we can overuse our tongue a lot. And this also ties in with how we can overuse that upper part of the neck that I was talking about. So I'm going to invite you to take your hands into this position here and very gently rest your fingertips underneath the chin. So what I'm doing is I'm actually using my fingertips there to press into the bottom of my mouth. So the jaw is nice and relaxed. And the tongue is nice and relaxed. Now, if you feel your fingertips and press them into underneath the jaw, it should be nice and spongy. And now see what happens, see what it feels like if you move the tongue around. La, 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 la. You might want to say A, B, C, D, A, F, G. Keep your mouth fairly closed. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get some tongue movements coming in. We don't want the mouth to move if we can. And feel what's happening underneath the fingertips there. Can you feel that something is going hard and then going soft and going hard and going soft? That's the muscle of your tongue. So what we're going to do now is we're going to keep the fingertips resting into that soft bit there. You're going to keep your tongue really relaxed. And then I'm going to invite you to hum. Now, this is it's called Bhamari breath. It's the humming bee, sorry. But I wanted to say bumblebee. It's the humming bee breath. So we use the M sound, the sound. And it's a really lovely way of relaxing ourselves. But we're going to do it with feeling what's happening in this part underneath the chin here. So you can have the mouth as relaxed as you can. What will happen is the lips will come together to do an sound. So I'm going to demonstrate, and then I'm going to carry on talking while you're doing it. Breathing in through the nose. Now your hum obviously goes on only for as long as your breath is comfortable. And what you're feeling for is to make sure that the tongue is not working, because the tongue doesn't need to work on a hum. And you may find that actually what's happening when you're doing this is that there's a lot, you feel it going hard underneath here. And so you are actually using your tongue when you don't need to be. And this is something that is very, very, very common. So we can overuse the neck when we're opening our jaw, and we can overuse the tongue when we are doing all sorts of things where we are not supposed to be using the tongue. So this is an overactivity. Now the tongue, as I mentioned, it's an organ of speech. So we can't enunciate words without having a tongue. And also we can't swallow without having a tongue. So we know that in order, have you ever tried eating without your tongue? I tried it today. It was really interesting. And these are, so a lot of what I'm talking about here, they are a little bit of an invitation for you to go away and work with, and maybe think about the head and the neck a little bit more differently and give it a little bit more attention. Because from a lifestyle prescriptions point of view, are we able to speak our truth? Are we able to get our words out? You know, are we in any kind of a relationship, whether it be work or personal, where we are just never allowed to get our words out? And if we try, as soon as we do try and get our words out, we're shut down. Well, the energy has to go somewhere. And that energy, us not being able to use our body in the way that our body wants to be used, means that energy gets blocked and organs start to not be able to function in the way that they are designed. So are we able to bite off something that we want? Or I can remember when my little girl, she was only about 2, and someone was really bugging her, and she tried telling this person, can you stop? I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want it. Leave me alone. And the other little girl wasn't listening. And in the end, my daughter got so frustrated. Now she was brought up with no biting, but nonetheless, she was so frustrated. She actually bit this little girl's shoulder. And it was a way of just saying, stop. You're not listening to me. I've asked you to stop. So these are lifestyle prescription organ, mind, brain connections that have so much to do with tension that we're holding around the jaw and in the mouth. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go back into the mouth. If you'd like to, once again, just notice your feet flat on the floor. Notice your sit bones. Look after your alignment. Come back into the mouth. And if you can, get enough saliva, or if you've got a little drink there, swallow. And just notice the movement of your tongue as you swallow. And then bring your awareness to the back of the throat. Back of the throat. The bottom of the throat. And the very top back part of the mouth. And see whether you can follow that part of the mouth all the way up into the internal bony structure behind the nose, the sinuses. And with your breathing nice and relaxed, we're going to go back into the Brahmari breath where we're doing some humming. And this time, I'd like you to keep your awareness in the nose. See whether you can get a sense of that vibration going through the sinuses there. All the time breathing in through the nose, and then a gentle humming sound. You can carry on with that or any of the other exercises that you want to go into while I talk. Now, encouraging nose breathing is very helpful to a lot of people. What happens when we breathe through the nose is that the air gets warmed, it gets moistened. Also, the little cilia, the little hairs in the nose, and then further up the tract, even tiny, tiny, tiny hairs, what they do is they actually trap bacteria. And also what happens is we have a nitrous oxide in this back here. And what that does is it's very powerful killer of bacteria. And interestingly, nitrous oxide is also a feel-good hormone. So when we work with this humming breath here, we can start to feel a little bit lighter in ourselves, not just because what we're doing is automatically it will tend to slow the breathing down, but because also we are releasing nitrous oxide. So this all really helps us to have a really healthy nose and sinuses, and of course to make the air suitable for hitting the lungs. Much better to have air which has been warmed and which has been purified and also moistened in preparation for the atmosphere within the lungs. But also what we're doing is we are really revitalizing the nasal passages, and this is where we get our sense of smell. So just tune into your in-breath now and see whether you have any sense of smelling anything around you. And notice the breath as you breathe out as well. So in lifestyle prescriptions, we talk about a stinking conflict. We can't stand the smell of a situation. It stinks. I hate that. I hate that. And you know, is that anything to do with smell, actually? What is it about that situation? Why do we say it stinks? I don't like it. I can't get away from it. And we know that if there's a bad smell around us, it's around us. We can't get away from it. So these are the organ, mind, brain connections that help us to really identify if we have a problem with reduced sense of smell. There may be a reason for that. Well, not there may be, there is a reason for that. But what is that reason and how can we explore that? And by working with our awareness, our own perceptions of our body, what we're doing is we're starting to really help us get into that feeling sense of our body, because that's where the clues are. We will find the clues about what is really going on for us at any given time. Now, one of the really balancing breaths that we use in yoga is called Nadi Shodhana. And this is alternate nostril breathing. And we often use handholds for this. But I'm going to invite you to do it this evening without a handhold, just purely with the feeling sense of breathing in through one nostril and out through the other. And we're going to combine this with box breathing, which is where we breathe in for a count of, we're going to work with 3. We're going to breathe in for a count of 3. We're going to hold the breath in for a count of 3. We're going to breathe out for a count of 3. We're going to hold the breath out for a count of 3. But what we're going to do is we're going to be doing alternate nostrils. So I'm going to talk you through it. So we're going to breathe in, first of all, through the left nostril. 2, 3. Hold the breath in. 2, 3. And breathe out through the right nostril. 2, 3. Hold the breath out. 2, 3. Breathe in through the right. 2, 3. Hold the breath in. 2, 3. And out through the left. 2, 3. Hold the breath out. 2, 3. And I'm going to invite you to just work through, and if 3 is not working for you, if a count of 2 is better or a count of 4 is better, that's absolutely fine. But while you're working with this ratio box breathing, what I'd like you to get a real sense of is the movement of air through one nostril and then out through the other nostril. Don't worry that you might have air sneaking into both, but your awareness is just on one side and then on the other side. This can be quite a nice way to put yourself to sleep, by the way. And it's nice because you're then not using handholds. You don't have to worry about falling asleep with your hand falling over your face there. And last round. And then let that fall away. So maybe roll your shoulders, have a stretch if you need to. And any thoughts that come to you as you're working with these exercises, they're worth listening to. Even if you're not going to listen to them now, you just notice them, remember them, maybe put them on a piece of paper somewhere and look at them again later on when you do these exercises, and you'll find that you have your own style of doing them, and that's great. What we're going to do now is we're going to come to the eyes. And so again, recommend that you do this with your eyes closed to start with. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the eyes up. Now, let's just do something actually before we do. So can I just invite you to open your eyes again now and take these fingers again and pop them this time right at the very top of the neck where it joins onto the skull. And just with your eyes open for a moment, I'm going to get you to look all the way up. Can you see how as soon as you look up, there is this, it's automatic. Your head wants to follow your eyes. And then look down. And even when you try and hold your neck still, your head starts to look down. So where your eyes are on the horizontal will also always help you to look after your neck posture. If you're looking up there, check that you haven't shortened through the back of the neck. If you're looking down there, check that you haven't come into a poke chin. So what we're looking for is we're looking for length through the back of the neck. And the eyes are on the horizontal to start this exercise. And then if you can, close your eyes so that your eyes are on the horizontal behind closed lids. And we're going to try and work with eye movements as best we can without there being any neck movement. And we're going to take the eyes up. So we're going to imagine that we've got a clock face. So that the clock face is probably about the size of our face here. Or we're going to look up as if we were looking up towards midnight. And then we look around to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then back the other way. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back to 12. And just notice, where is your jaw? And notice the alignment through your neck. Now, if you do this exercise for yourself, you will really want to be even saying those numbers inside your head. Because if you don't, what you will notice is that your eyes will go from, say, midnight over to 4 o'clock, and then maybe to 7, and then up to 10. And so you're not actually getting the full scope of the eyes there. So this is a really lovely exercise for the eyes. And in the lifestyle prescriptions, of course, the eyes are about seeing, are we able to see where we're going? Do we like what we see? There's a lot more to it, of course, but they are an organ that really lend themselves to what we know the eyes are all about, that seeing, that looking, that things being pleasing to the eye. So we're going to go back into, if you can, eyes closed now. And we're going to go over to the right eye. And this time we're going to imagine there is a clock face in the socket of the right eye. So we're going to look up to 12 o'clock and then around to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. You should be looking right in to the side of your nose on the right hand side now. 10, 11, 12, and back the other way. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and back to 12. And now over to the left eye. So the clock face now in the socket of the left eye. Take the eyes up to midday, and then we're going to work 1, 2, 3. You should be looking right into the side of the left nose here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and back the other way. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And notice, where is your jaw? Did your jaw, your tongue, or your neck get involved in that exercise? So it's quite a meditation to just work with those. And I have a lazy eye. I've had a lazy eye as long as I've known it. When I was little, I had to wear a patch on one side, and I'm sure Johannes would have all sorts of wonderful things to tell me about that. But what I found when I started doing these exercises is that my left eye was much more functional than my right. And this was only, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And there were certain numbers on the clock face that I absolutely couldn't get on the right-hand side. And because my right eye is a lazy eye, what happened was that when my eyes were closed, it was always the dominant eye that was coming in. So for yourself, when you do these exercises, you might want to play with your eyes open and with your eyes closed. So you can really start to learn something about how your eye moves. And this is what we're doing. We are using the practices of yoga to really get into the working of our body. How are we using it by habit? How are we moving by habit? How are we feeling? What is the feeling sense? Have we got any feeling in this particular part of the body, or is it actually fairly numb? Do we have any sense of awareness? And so this is what we're working with. And we're very lucky when it comes to the head and the face, because we've got these sensory organs, so we can really tune into them. So let's go to the ears now. And we're going to work with the humming bee breath again. So making sure that you're happy with where your feet are on the floor. Just wriggle around if you need to just change your position there. Noticing where your sit bones are, making sure that you're happy with your alignment. The back of the neck is long, the jaw is relaxed. Breathing in through the nose, and then on the out breath, humming and becoming aware of that sound in your ears. And if you want to, what you can do is take your fingertip and you can press very, very, very lightly on that external flap on the outside of the ear there to heighten your awareness of your sound in that ear, on that side. And then, of course, what you can do is you can also use fingertips here underneath the jaw to make sure that you're not overusing the tongue. So let's try that again. Breathing in through the nose. Couple more breaths there on that side. And then go over to the other side. And then let go of the humming breath there. And we're just going to sit in stillness for just a minute. Maybe with your eyes gently closed. And noticing any thoughts that come up for you, and just let them pass like clouds in the sky. You won't stop the thoughts, but you don't need to attach to them. And just see if there's a pattern to the thoughts. If you get a sense of some new heightened awareness in your face and your head. And maybe any thoughts that this has brought up for you. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Just look around, orientate yourself, notice where you are. Notice your feet on the floor, your sitting bones on the chair. So I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to lifestyle prescriptions yoga this evening. It's not a place for going into a lot of details about the individual connections. There are other places that we do that. Johannes has written a lovely book as well, and you can download that for free. So definitely worthwhile investing in there so you get a sense of how we can use particular yoga movements to get into our body parts. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to be doing a lot more of this work, and certainly with the head, face, and neck, I think you can see that we could spend a couple of hours and still not have covered everything. So thank you very much for watching this evening. We have another couple of really amazing teachers this week, and so do check in again with National Yoga Month, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow evening. Namaste.